Hi guys, welcome to another voiceover. My name is Sakimi, and for this term's voiceover, I'm gonna be drawing Mori. Um, she's from the English VTuber cast, and she has a really cool design. She's kind of up my alley. She's got the pink hair, which is one of my favorite color, and out of all the English cast, I find her design um, the most interesting. So yeah, it's time to continue the series. And as you can see, I've already got the sketch out, got the pose ready. I'm doing like a slight foreshortening piece. Um, got the background roughly laid out here. So it's a combination of photos and 3D objects. The weapon is a 3D object. It's kind of like the closest design I could find, um, looking like her actual weapon. I'm gonna probably do a little bit more editing on that. And I also try to kind of put in a bit of a skull decoration in there, a bit of it in the foreground, so that I can kind of do a bit of layering with this piece. So we got the foreground with the decoration, and the character itself, and then the background. And so that's where we're at. And yeah, let's take it from here. Let's do the usual. Just bringing a smaller preview onto my secondary screen. I have some reference for what I want to achieve. I'm trying to do like a more slightly different concept from her design. So as you can see, I have some reference picture with me already. Usually I would have it right on the side. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna make her wear like a rib cage type corset, which is quite pretty much similar to what she has on, except it will be, oh, the idea will be expanded a bit. Alright, so just gonna go ahead, put down some basic color, and before I um, continue, I have to think about where where am I gonna put the shadow and highlight, or most of it. So let's think about it. Okay. I think what I'll do is let's do like we'll do lighting from above and from the side. This whole her whole belly area is gonna be in shadow, and then her leg is gonna pick up that lighting so that we can play up the bend, the knee that are bent. My gosh, my English. But we're gonna try to emphasize the perspective and trying to make sure that it reads like the foreshortening reads. So by emphasizing the foreshortening, I have to play up the lighting and shadow. So get a bit of rim light in the shadow shaded area. Let's go ahead and put down the shadow. Roughly using the lasso tool, establish the color. Her corset is gonna be a dark color, if not black, probably very close to it. But since I'm anticipating a lot of detail, I won't render it out too much. And we have like a sheer dark fabric uh, sleeve design. Same with here. The cape is also a dark color. Establish a very rough highlight of how it's going to catch the lighting. I will probably need to edit this part so that it feels more in perspective. Right now it is not matching up to the perspective the way I would like. Let me darken it a bit more. Go to the hair, block it in with a pink color. Let's go with a slightly darker pink. Lay out some rough shadow. Oh boy, there's a bit of a jaggedness going on here. Let's smooth it out. Let's go to the top portion of the hair. Get a bit of lighting up top. Crown. Roughly block out her crown. Go to the face. Similar here. Let's do a little highlight on top of the nose area. Bit of lighting here. Let's go with that. And last but not least, the veil is, I'm going to try to make it translucent. So for now, I will just do a very rough blocking for that. Let's make it a little brighter so that it stands out overall. Back to the body. Let's go ahead and use the color mode and attempt to add some slight color variation. Okay, add a bit of blue, and then let's do a bit of a pinky tone as well. Along with doing a super rough highlight add-on here. And her leg will also catch a pretty large amount of highlight as well. So let's highlight that. Alright. Now that that's done, I'm going to select a slightly pinkier tone, put it on the multiply mode, and add just a tiny bit of shadow around some of these areas. Let's add in the belly button, and then on her belly, bottom of her belly, around her leg crevice, and underneath her head, and take a bit of blue go on to screen, and I'm gonna highlight the side of the character. This is a pretty rough layout of the lighting that I have in mind, which, you know, after we start refining, usually that's gonna change, but for now, that's what we're gonna go with. Quickly block in the area that's supposed to be her collar area and her harness details. I think I need to work on this separately, on a separate layer. Okay, and let's get a nice amount of highlight under her face there. A bit of lighting on the opposite side as well. Okay. I think for the legs, I might tone down the lighting a bit. So let's go ahead, give the leg a bit more shadow tone. Make it not too extreme. Alright. Next up, I'm just going to go ahead and put down where her undies gonna be. You know, I made it like a extreme high cut because it's gonna highlight the pose a bit better. And it frames the character better as well. So that's done. We can start by lowering the opacity of the lines and gradually start sketching out or actually refining is probably a better term for it. Let's go ahead and start refining. I'm gonna start off with refining the chest part. And we can start borrowing the reference color palette. So we're gonna give her, let's go with nice leather texture corset. And just observing from the reference, let's just render that out as such. So there's a highlight along this side as well. So I'm just going to roughly observing from how like the reference is, we're just gonna use that and put down roughly where that highlight and lighting is. There is of course room for adjustments, but we'll just use it as a base. And reacting to continue the highlight from that side. Add a bit of highlight here. Now that we have like a rough idea of the lighting, gonna move on to the cleavage part now. So I like how that cleavage look. We can go ahead and try to do that. Let's take a slightly darker color. She is probably the more busty one in the group. So we can make her chest a little bigger. I've been trying to tone down my chest size lately, but at least with her we can do a little, just a bit bustier. Well, I'll still probably try to tone it down at the very end. So there we have it. I'm going to highlight her collarbone. Start off with a bit of shadow here since it is at an angle. We probably won't see too much of the clavicle. We'll just have a bit of that impression there. Take this color. Using kind of a highlight tone, put it underneath the collarbone. Highlight that area. And we will blend out the cleavage part. Let's go up here now. Highlight the top of the cleavage with the lighting. Alright, welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, let me test. Okay, my mic's working properly. Alright, let's continue. Where was I what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was about to start painting out a bit of her ribcage anatomy. Okay, so let's paint it out a small amount. Let's take this. Actually, no. Take a bit of the beige and just going to render the corset with that in mind. And also I will try to paint out a bit of her ab line. Let's go ahead and paint it out. Take the highlight, bring it forward, and we're gonna try to do this design here. She's got, in her original design, she's got three of these rib highlights. I don't know how many I'm gonna give her, but let's go with 3 for now, and if I have the opportunity, I will add a bit more. Last but not least, one over here. Let's go ahead and put the basic color, which is gold, but we're gonna start off with a neutral color. Neutral color. I wonder if I can make it a bit more jaggedy, kind of like that. If I make it a bit more jaggedy, it might come across a bit more like rib cages. And test out. Let's test. It might end up looking like little little legs. Hmm. Let's change the positioning for these. Let's drag it downward instead of upward. Well, we'll go with that. I'm just gonna call it ribs. Go back to our original layer, remove the lines because I really don't need it at this point, at least for the body. And we are going to, okay, probably not there. I'm gonna add the highlights right here. I'm gonna start by adding in the corset detail bit by bit. I'm just kind of looking at it every once in a while, trying to see what I can do to improve the look, like to accentuate the rib cage look. I mean, mm, let's do this. Create a new layer. Just gonna emphasize. Let's do a quick experiment. I'm gonna try to emphasize kind of like the rib cage pattern. This side is kind of lopsided. And then what I'll do is copy paste, make it a little darker. Make it a little darker. Let's create like a pattern here. Oh man, kind of failed at matching it up to each side. I have to bring this up a bit. And then I'm gonna create some negative spacing using the skin tone here. Sketch out a design here. And then on a new layer, let's kind of lace it up. Lace it up. Okay. Lace this side up. And here. Well, questionable. Let me remove this. But yeah, something like that. In general, I wanted to emphasize the ribs. Let's take this. Take a bit of that texture. So this does have a bit of that vibe, which I want, but it's too blingy, so we're gonna tone it down and use it to emphasize the ribcage design. I don't know how, but I just wanted to just apply this texture. You never know. It might end up looking like it will fit. If it doesn't, then we can try to warp it to fit. So I'm gonna just warp it to form the cage, the rib cage design. Well, okay. Okay. I think I should really be looking at like rib cage. Rib cage corset. Alright. Okay, now I have actual rib cage. Some very interesting results. Oh, okay. Some of the results somewhat disturbing, but for the most part, some very interesting results. Oh, this is kind of interesting. Let's add that to our reference repertoire. Just gonna copy that, the bust area, because that's what we need reference for. I kind of like that it has a bit of the hip bone as well. Hip bone design. Ah, very interesting. Okay, now that I have a more visual look, okay, I I think I have something here. So on top of that, let's add little ridges to the center here that might look like spine, or yeah, inspired by spine. Okay, and we're going to give a hard wire here. It's gonna lift her chest up. Hard wire seam. Let's add a bit of ridge at the top. So um, this is all doable with photo texture. But if you paint a little bit beforehand adding the photo texture, I think it gives the best result. So we're just going to paint a little bit beforehand, and then we're going to just drop that photo texture on there after. Now comes the second, how do I say this? The second issue that I'm having is the shape of the bra cup. I wanted to make it look organic. Maybe I can have like a ridge here or something, reminiscent of the rib cage ridge. We can have a couple. Um, okay. I don't know. I'm just testing it out. I don't know. It's not really it's not really doing what I wanted to do. Maybe I can add some ribcage designs on her bra cup, like that. Ooh, this is where my inner concept artist comes out. I'm just trying to figure out ways to make this thing work. This is kind of looking like seashells. But maybe she could have like those bone like bra cups. Kind of reminds me of those skeletal hand bras. Yeah, kind of like that. Well, maybe I could have that then. I need to make sure this part is a bit more sharp then in that case. Wow, this is definitely looking very concept arty. I'm using my inner, digging through my past experience as concept artist. Mm, you know what? I think that this part could be sheer. It could be a different texture, maybe like a interesting lace design. See, another part about just concept art is, well, at least I've been taught to try to incorporate different textures, different levels of translucency, that type of stuff always keep in mind. So usually when I do pinups, I try to incorporate different levels of translucency and stuff to make things look a bit more interesting. But I'm kind of digging the design right now. Alright. Mm, let's go ahead and clear this out. I mean, yeah, clear this part out, make it look clearer. Work on the belly. I mean, I could probably continue the theme and let's go ahead and paint some small bone-like underwear lace. I mean, why stop at the corset? Gotta continue the theme throughout the character. That's also something when it comes to just concept art, character concepts. You know, I was taught to continue the theme uh, throughout the whole character design. So repetitive themes, which gives the design a very cohesive look. So we're gonna do that to the underwear as well. Just painting some uh, bone-like design on the underwear string here. Or I'll try. I'm trying. It's a little messy, but we can refine that later. However, I do want to get the idea across, which I think I've done. We can do like a sheer fabric. Again, a continuation of the corset design onto the underwear. Let's do a seam here. And probably, okay, it's a little uneven. It's a little uneven, so I'll have to watch out for that, but for now we're gonna go with that. Go back to the legs using the lasso tool. I'm gonna go ahead and really emphasize that leg squish. Okay, let's march down. Okay. I'm going to select this area and we're going to slightly warp it a bit. Let's go ahead and go for that. It's very interesting because you would assume, you know, at that angle, you would assume that legs don't get that thick, but at that particular angle, it's pretty thick. It's pretty thick. So yes, I do have a reference for this. That's why I made the leg. Well, I have to paint it this thick. I mean, yes, it's after a reference. So technically, if anybody says this is unrealistic, at this angle, it's pretty similar to how this looks. Especially when you're sitting down and stuff, and your legs are all squished together and stuff. Even if even if your legs are not very thick, it's gonna get thick once it's squished up like that. Alright, so the next mission that I have is just to emphasize on the squish. And I'll try my best to just kind of do the best I can to make the squish come across. And I'm doing the thing where you glance at your reference as you paint because this part is important. I don't think I have drawn this angle, so need to pay extra attention in this part. I'm gonna create a new layer and paint on this new layer so that, in case I make a mistake, I can always go back easier. Let's just go ahead and sketch out the hip. Also, I have to make sure I don't make it too messy. Just a bit of highlight. I should be taking the highlight from this side. So, taking that highlight, there's a bit of highlight on this side here. A tad bit of shadow near this side. And we're gonna emphasize that kneecap right here. That switch in sides as the kneecap is protruding. The shadow is very important on that side. Clean that up. Emphasize the squish a bit more on this side. Take this color. Get a bit of the other side of the kneecap here. And probably need to work on the background as well a bit. Let's go ahead and add shadow to the other leg. Let's take a bit of the shadow here, bring it onto this leg. Use the lasso tool. So that I can blend that side out without having to worry about, going over the line there. Take this color, the same shadow color, apply it here as well. Tone it down. Take this. Let's add a slight highlight right around here so that we can have the squish effect. Bit of a squish effect. Take this, bring it over to warm tone a bit more. Blend this out. Kneecap accentuation time. Bring up the shadow here. But yeah, all this is just at first glance of the reference, and from there on, we do a second pass, and gradually it's gonna get fixed up. Basically, the different areas gonna get fixed up a bit more and more. Let's add a bit of highlight here. This is where the kneecap shine is. And then a bit of highlight to emphasize the silhouette of one of the kneecap on this side. Same with here. Bit of highlight on the side to emphasize the kneecap on that side. Let's go ahead and add a bit of highlight here. Oh, hold on. Emphasize the shadow line right in this area and blend it down into the other knee. I will need to kind of cut this whole part out. And also for the background, oh, that's the foreground. Background is right here. Create a new layer so that we may add shadow, especially towards this area. Well, we'll just keep it like this, but in general, I want there to be a pretty dark drop down shadow for her knees onto the ground. Okay, so this is a good pass. It's a good pass. We can emphasize her legs a bit more this way. Add a bit of shadow, especially here. Emphasize the leg curvature right here. Just looking at the reference and like adjusting it, adjusting the shape. There we go. And, oh, whoops. Okay, that, I merged on the wrong layer. Oh, whoops. Bring it up a bit. Merge down. Let's take this whole part. We're gonna bring it down a bit. Bring it down a bit. Emphasize the squish of this leg right here. There. So brought it down a bit. Maybe it might be too much. Well, okay. And gonna select, actually, you know what? Let's create a new layer, constraint down, multiply layer, and we're just gonna gotta go for the airbrush mode so we can gradually darken at the knees there to create like to emphasize on the foreshortening, you know, as we get closer to the camera, it's a little darker. So we can have a bit of that. A bit of that. Take take a lighter color, using the same layer mode, adding a bit of shadow, especially near the where the underwear is. And a bit more near the belly button, and let's use a lighter color here, but add a bit of shadow at the belly area and around the waist area to separate the lighting, the highlight from the shadow. Okay, merge down. Alright, so roughly we have that down. I'm sure once I flip this, I'm going to be correcting lots of areas. But for now, we shall move on to the arm part. Now this part is really tricky because it's a lot of arm foreshortening, and I did not know like elbows bend that way. But yeah, this part needs heavy referencing because I have never painted this angle, actually once, but that time with the Tifa, Nurse Tifa is also, I painted with a lot of reference because the angle is quite tricky. And you know, the elbow part, especially the elbow bone, and like how each of the small bones poking out at this angle, it's not very straightforward. Okay, so yeah, need need reference for those, especially like where is this bone poking out of and why is it bent that way? All these questions need to be answered with reference. Or how does it bend that way and not why. But yeah, slowly I sketch out using the reference where the landmark are generally supposed to be. Let's go ahead, use a slightly darker color. The armpit area quite dark. And then we have shadow along this side here. Take the highlight. Let's go ahead and add the shadow down. And there's a bit of a special shape for the arm as well here. Delete that part. Extend the elbows up a bit. And let's take this whole arm part, bring it closer. It makes sense on the reference photo, but when I'm painting it kind of looks a little, it needs help. It definitely needs a second pass. Needs probably a few passes, actually. But slowly I am also kind of learning as well, you know. If I do this enough times, this type of angle, I'll get a hang of it and a understanding of why it looks like that and how to paint it. Let's add a bit of highlight where the chest is. Oh, hold on. Add a tiny bit of the so-called collarbone impression here, although I don't think we will see it very much. Take this color. Probably won't be seeing, I mean, probably won't be having a lot of highlight to the arm area. it's a bit more subtle than what I have right now. And also the shape is very interesting. So I got a dip here, dip here. I'm assuming this is where the bicep is. Dip a bit there. And we have the lovely protrusion of the elbow. It's a bit more on this side. Add a bit more shadow around this area. Take a bit of this color, bit of the background color. I noticed that on this particular part of the elbow is a bit more grayed out. So there's like a lot of subtlety going on here. And there is a very high contrast on this side. Oh. I'm just going to sculpt out what I see here. So a lot of highlight around this area. And then shadow here. Let's go ahead and darken the rest of that elbow part. Bring it down. Blend it down. Blend out the armpit area. Let's go ahead and use a slightly darker color here. Blend this in. There's quite a sharp separation of highlight and shadow around this area too. Okay, I guess we can go with that for now. Let's merge down. Alrighty, so first part of the hand kinda done-ish. Let's take the highlight color a bit more. Gonna have to be more subtle. Add a bit of shadow. This is where the wrist bone is. Add a bit of pinky tone for hand. Gonna have to move it downward a bit so that it reaches the clothing here. Alright. darken. Okay. Next up is this arm. This one is eh, is even is a bit more tricky. So once again, we'll take it easy. There's a separation there with her arm brace design. She's got like a arm collar here. Okay. Alright, first the armpit line. Let's go ahead, render that out. She's got a sheer dark mesh material here. So we'll have to paint with that in mind. Highlight the elbow once again. The elbow is very interesting because at certain angles it just becomes a little bit not what you would expect. It's kind of like the ears a little bit. At certain angles it's just very tricky. Let's go ahead and blend this out. Let's add a bit of the cooler tone. Let's go ahead, block in her arm brace. It is a golden arm brace. I started off with a dark color. Add a slight bit of highlight. And then even more highlight. Stack on the highlight. Okay. The arm is probably a little bit closer here. Take this part, bring it up. The foreshortening is pretty crazy on this arm, so I'm just adjusting it while I go. Oh. The important part is to get the elbows correct. Oh, there's like a bit of a interesting curvature on this arm from the foreshortening actually. Very interesting. So it dips like this. It goes like that. I guess emphasize on the elbow protrusion. And then it dips. So all this I probably would have never really known if I didn't have a reference for this foreshortening. The arm is very interesting, the way it deforms. And then it now this part is just the arm. I mean the hand, which is not too bad. Simple enough. There we go. Alright, so we have the arm roughly done. Hmm, maybe I might need to make this arm just a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to resize it, size it up a bit, size it up and just fix the thickness. So even though, the arm is a little bigger, actually it's more on the lines of it's longer, not thicker. And this one, that one should be okay. Move on to the chest part. This arm part is supposed to be lower in order to create that foreshortening. Or at this angle, I might need to edit it a bit. Something like that. Bring up the chest more. Well, she is busty, so I can go a little bit more, a bit bigger on her chest. Although right now it's not really too big. I mean, for my standards. My usual stuff is, I'm used to painting busty, let's just say. This is, for me personally, it's acceptable, but that's just me. I need to tone it down. That's usually how people perceive it. I need to tone it down at least a little, like 50%. But yeah, something like this. Mm, let's go with, actually, fix the arm here. Tone that down. Merge down now. Yeah, it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. Let's go ahead and work on the cape. Ooh, I mean, it'd be interesting to do something like that where, the cape is slightly laced up and sheer. Might not be such a bad idea. Maybe I'll try it out. But how I would approach the cape when it comes to the lace detail is I would look for a photo texture that is as close as I can to this type of shape, and I would need that texture to have a high contrast so I can isolate it and then apply it slowly. Because there's like the cape that's gonna be sheer and laced up, the veil that's gonna be laced up. But yeah, I have to look for a good texture. But it's getting there. I'm kind of happy where this is going. Oh, oh no, I didn't do steps. Oh well, I guess this is gonna be the first step. It's gonna be it's gonna be quite extreme, but yeah, it's getting there. I will work a little bit of it, work on it a bit, and then bring you guys back. Alright guys, welcome back. So, I did go ahead and work on the face a little bit. So this is the base for the face. Still not finalized, but I think it's a good base. I think I spent like an hour and a half or around 2 hours on just getting that started because of the angle was a little tricky, and I was kind of testing out, between anime slash semi-realism style, so that took a while, and it will probably change in the future as well. So um, also cinch her waist a little bit. Added some base for the hair. I added a few more silhouettes to the hair strands. Just kind of testing out what silhouette would make the hair just a little bit more dynamic. So yeah, I'm just gonna fill that in. Okay, so for this portion of the voiceover, I'm going to focus on her corset. It's gonna be very interesting. So in order to create the rib-like texture, I'm going to use some photo texture, and I'm just gonna borrow some of that texture from that reference right there, and let's just slap it on and hope that it will result in something interesting, and hopefully it will also fit the theme of what we're going for. Okay, let's make it a little darker. Let's go with that. So I am going to basically apply this texture throughout the protruded portion of, actually, you know what? Perhaps I should be using like different textures for that. Different texture for the other parts of the protrusion from the corset. The reason being, um, we want to create the impression that it's not like a copy and paste. So a way to do that is just by using different textures. Sometimes we can get away with like repeated usage of a texture, but then, we'd have to go in and paint over it. Okay, well, let me apply this on this side. So we'll just warp it to the cup curvature. Oh, actually, I'm kind of digging it. I kind of dig it. Oh, it's interesting. I kind of like where this is going, actually. Take a bit of the tip of the bone and warp it upwards. And let's go ahead. Merge down. Alright, so that side is done. I'm gonna try to see if I can reuse those two textures and flip it on the other side and use it there. Okay, well, I think I can. It's not looking too shabby. Now comes the just painting over. Now that I have the texture up, up in there and stuff like that, we can try to do a little something here using the solid round brush. For this, we don't want to use the airbrush since this part is, we're trying to make this part feel a little bit more rigid, a little bit of a harder surface. So, and I think I would be okay with it not being as refined. So I'm just gonna blend it out, but also do a little scribble texture while I go do that. Let's go ahead and do this. Take this color. Painting some scribbly texture. Using the lasso tool to help me isolate some of the skin tones. I'm also going to use the lasso tool to help me keep this area clean so that I can paint proper indentation from the corset onto the chest squishiness of the chest. Let's go ahead and select that side. Take a bit of the shadow here. Highlight here. And blend that out. I'm gonna have to refine the chest portion here a bit. Let's go with this color to make it a little brighter. Highlight the clavicle. Same with here. Highlight the clavicle a bit more. Take a bit of the shadow. And just highlight that area with it. Okay, take a bit of the shadow. Just going to imply a slight raising the chest, and then into a crevice it goes. Let's take a bit of the shadow for the cleavage. Blend it out. I wonder if I should indicate a bit of shadow here or not. We'll test it out the highlight. Let's add highlight here and then shadow. Add a bit more shadow here. Let's go ahead and use the highlight color. I'm just going to emphasize the under portion of this chest part here with highlight. So we're gonna have highlight towards the bottom part. Meanwhile, Meanwhile that I'm here, I'm just gonna basically do the same thing for this side as I did for the other side. Highlight, shadow. Take a bit of this, highlight it up, and add the shadow. Let's go ahead and blend this out. We'll do a line here. Go back to here and we'll do the same. Bring the highlight below. We're just gonna slowly accentuate the chest, basically. Extend the highlight downward, same with here. Extend the highlight lower. And I'm also going to start selecting a bit of the cup size, and we'll use this color. Use a bit of this. Actually, let's add a bit of yellow tone, using it as a form of highlight, shine, I guess. Light source or shine. For the cup here, give a high point, specular point, which is the brightest point of where the object catches the most highlight. Okay, now let's take an even brighter color, go to dissolve, which gives it that particle effect. Just add a bit of that. Go back to normal. And we're just going to scribble a bit of lines over it. Same with here, scribble some align texture to create a bit of a scratch, like a bit of wear and tear, you could say. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Let's go ahead and grab this rib right here. Grab that rib, paste, and I'm just gonna slowly use it as a hard wire in her corset. That's what they, I guess that's that, uh, like, flexible wire they put into your bra to hold your boobs up. I don't know if it's actually called hard wire, but it's very descriptive of what it is. Let's flip onto the other side and we shall apply it to this side as well. Okay. Well, I think I should probably flip her now. Once we flip her, we can see if, one side is a little crooked. And yes, one side is a little bit more crooked. I'm gonna remove the bangs. It's a hot mess up there. The head is pretty messy, but I just want a clear view of the bra. So we're gonna copy this part and warp it so that it matches the opposite side. Gotta make sure everything is, you know, matching up to the perspective and whatnot. So now that's done. Let's pop this back on. Pop this back on and reapply it so that it matches what I have in mind here. I'm going to make this just a little bit higher. Move it around a bit more. I'm just moving it around a bit at a time. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm gonna merge down. And alright, so over here, let's also once again use a bit of this texture. I'm just basically reusing that texture to help me. What this does is just, it creates, that bit of context to the design, or the same, what's it called, same repetitive element in the design, which helps makes your design a bit more cohesive. And also sometimes it looks nice, so I incorporate a bit of that skeletal texture throughout the corset design. Basically, we'll slowly incorporate it. There. Add a bit of shadow there. Blend this out. Let's do like a thin highlight here. Highlight a bit of the collarbone a bit more. I'm really into collarbones lately. I just really want to get the collarbones nice and sculpted up on the characters. I'm focusing on the collarbones, focusing on like the chest, the rib cage, all those elements. Lately I've been finding them a bit more important on a character, so I try to focus on them a bit more. So yeah. Now I am basically testing out a bunch of different ways to highlight the cleavage, highlight the rib cage and all that, the collarbone and all that. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit more quiet because not much to talk about. Sometimes it takes a while for, it might look very repetitive what I'm doing, basically adding, subtracting, highlight, and shadow. And sometimes it takes quite a bit of this repetitive painting method just to get it right. It's a little bit hard to explain. It's not, sometimes it's very subtle elements that make your piece. Okay, let's merge down. So we have that done. Okay, let's go back here. Take that color. Take a bit of the highlight. I'm going to use the lasso, not the lasso tool, but the airbrush mode. And this is originally where I had placed the highlight. So let's go ahead and do that once again, emphasize it a lot more. This time I'm also going to accentuate that rib-like pattern. Let's go here now. Take a bit of the highlight and we will do the same here. Add highlight to that area there. Okay, I'm just kind of observing a little bit. Sometimes, after you put down a bit more detail, you need to fix stuff. It's not always, it doesn't always translate after you put the detail. Sometimes it doesn't look as good after the details are more solidified and your ideas are more clear. Sometimes it looks better vague. That's also something that I think a lot of, well, we were talking about it in college as well, like when you're doing thumbnails, you don't solidify details and it sometimes it looks nicer because, there's more to your imagination. After you solidify your idea, it's a bit more, rigid in the possibility of what it could look like. It's hard to explain. But there's good points to kind of more refined pieces and also a bit more loose, rough pieces. Alrighty. Okay. Alright, back to our trusty ribcage texture here. I'm just gonna grab this whole part of it. And this time, I want to see if I can just use it just to add a tiny bit more, I don't want to keep saying texture, but yeah, texture. Tiny bit more texture, but I don't want to use it, make it too visible, so I'll just make it very, very vague. Lower the opacity. We just want to get like a 20% feel of it throughout the design. And of course, I'm going to go to each rib and just warp it, just to make it fit better. Well, you know what? I don't know if I can make it fit too well. Try my best, but we just want to make it fit the best that it can fit. Oh my goodness. I wish I knew better words of describing this to make it entertaining. Um, However, experimenting with texture placement is also one of the thing with this process. We're just gonna test it out a bunch of times, different placement, different opacities, and stuff like that. But the main idea is to just add a bit more detail. And you know what? Perhaps I will keep the protrusion here. It might add a bit more interest to the silhouette of the piece. This process really reminds me of back in my concept art days. Oh yeah, especially on the project I was working on. We were kind of using a lot of this bone texture to create a character design. It brings me back to those days. Grab these little ridges and let's see if I can make them stand out a bit more. at least the very tippy top of the ridge here. So I copy, paste, make it a little brighter to make the tip of each ridge pop out a bit more. And go back in with a very vague, slightly brighter color to scribble on a bit of a volume there. Oh, it's so hard to describe. I'm really bad at this. But we just want to create the ridge here to go with the basic shape on this side because we got ridge on this side and it's sticking out. We got to make sure that side painted so that it sticks out as well. Okay, let's merge down here. Okay, okie dokie. Okay, that is certainly something. Merge down. Create another layer. This is gonna take a few layers. So now, I want to go back in here. I want to highlight the rib cage a bit more so it goes like this, right? The highlight for it. Like that. The same for here. And we highlight a bit of the ab area, but there's a strong shadow here. Highlight the ribs. Something like that. And I will slowly kind of just reduce it. Let's use a bit of the dissolve here. Oh, add some shiny particle. Yes, particle. So this is what I have for the highlighted area. Really want to make sure that part stands out. Add a bit more here. And then we go back in and pretty much erase the part where the rib is covering, or the rib texture that I previously have. Okay, there's one here. And reduce it a bit. Well, that didn't go as well as I had hoped, but it's one additional element to add to this corset. Let's rotate her again. Let's pop back her hair. Let's go ahead and continue our journey to refine and make this corset a bit more interesting. But yeah, It's getting there. I just have to keep working on it. Alright, back to the cleavage. Back to the cleavage now that we flipped it. Let's go ahead and readjust it again since we flipped the image. Take this, move it. Actually, should I? Let's move it here. Bring up the silhouette, the cleavage silhouette. Let's go ahead, save. Go ahead and add that line down here, but I have to kind of play around with it a bit. The cleavage is not to my satisfaction. I just have a gut feeling that, it's kind of missing some element, but I'm not sure what. Usually this happens and I end up, spend some extra few hours on that particular area. It happens quite often, actually. Let's do this. Take that. Alright, let's blend out the arm using the lasso tool. Keep that area clean and stuff. Let's bring it up. Clean up the brace, arm brace. Let's have a closer look at how the arm brace look like. I think there's like a particular shape to it, so let's have a look. Okay, I see it. It's got the sharp ridges at certain locations. Let's go ahead and do that at the ridge, the design. Go back in to refine it once again. Highlight that area. Let's go ahead and add shadow to the indentation of the arms. Oh, actually here too. I'm gonna add a shadow underneath the brace. And using the lasso tool, I'm just gonna select the arm, Select the arm and blend out the mesh texture for it. I'll just clean up the silhouette as we go. Alright, so this is a little before and after. Sometimes it helps to toggle on and off, just to kind of see what kind of progress you're making and stuff like that. But yeah, it seems like we're making good progress to the corset design. I'm just cleaning up some of these silhouettes here. Alright, back to the corset since it's not done yet and we have still things to kind of refine and clean up. For example, some of the shapes here needs to be cleaned up a bit. We can make or refine the shape here. And originally I had wanted to make this part look like the spine and all that. So gotta figure out a way to get that across and have the design itself be cohesive as well. So that's one of the challenges that we're gonna deal with. But for now, I'm just going about creating some negative spacing in this lace portion of the corset. Let's go ahead and remove that part. And also, oh yeah, I was working on the cleavage line here. Um, but anyhow, I think I don't know quite what I have to do to make the cleavage look better, but I just know that I'm gonna have to spend a bit more, I was gonna say couple more hours, but it could actually lead to hours of experimenting. I definitely need to spend extra bit of time on this part. Even though it's like a small part of the character, it's uh, still bothers me, so I gotta work on it until I'm happy with it. Let's go over here, add a bit of shadow. Darken. Okay, is that enough pushed up? This one might look a little too big compared to the other side. Let's push the silhouette down just a tad. I'm just making sure that both sides is more or less even. It might take a little while. Okay, I think that's it. Let's merge down now. Let's return to this right here, this beautiful texture right here. I'm just gonna grab all of this area. So this whole column here is gonna help me with coming up with something over here. Or even maybe like this? Oh, anyhow, let's see what we can do with it. Sometimes you can actually use a texture to help you come up with the design. So let's go ahead and just put that in the center and see what that does. I mean, if you look at the small preview here, I suppose you can't really see it too well, but in my other secondary screen, it does come across as, it does fit. So I might end up just using this column after all. But perhaps I would probably need to take the little ridges on this side and have it the same on the other side so that, oh, okay. Okay. I'm digging it. And uh, now that we have this type of thing going on, logically speaking, let's just say, okay, screw logic, but we can use our logic and conclude that we can have like little straps attached to each of these ridges. Oh, this might take a while. I'm gonna have to uh, redo this part right here to make the idea that I just thought of work. Because I have to relace all the little, I have to re-add the lacing and stuff like that. But I can take the opportunity here to just render out the skin underneath a bit better, adding indentation marks and whatnot, and perhaps even adjust the anatomy slightly. Like I could go ahead and emphasize the rib cage, landmarks here for the character. Let's go ahead and take this, highlight it up. Alright, so now that that's done, let's do that thing. So let's go ahead and okay, let me just lace it up with another layer. Oh, let's do this. Oh, hopefully it's not too confusing. Oh no, it looks confusing. Okay, let's redo it. Redo that part here. How about I do it like this? Maybe this is less confusing. Oh, that is a lot of detail going on. I mean, I don't want it to be too busy. Okay, let's go ahead and make this a little bigger. Like, what if it was this big? If it was... if it was this big... And we'll just do that. let's go ahead and flip it again. Okay, this is the part of the process that takes a bit longer because we're just kind of experimenting with the design elements. That usually takes a while because you're trying to figure out, balancing out the whole corset look without it being too busy and stuff like that. So this could take a while. And okay, now that I've done that, let's go back into the skin tone and using the skin tone to carve out a bit of an interesting negative spacing with the lacing patterns. My concept art brain is working. Sometimes it's like on autopilot, but when it comes to stuff like this where I got to find out ways to make a design work, my brain's activated a bit more. Okay, let's go ahead and create a nice sharp silhouette for this portion of the corset. Okay. Let's sculpt out this part right here. Sculpt it out by painting those parts with the skin tone. Then add the skin tone. Okay. And let's see. Let's go ahead and add a mesh, dark mesh to the side here. We still have the bone ridges here. Needs a extra bit of attention here. Perhaps, we can, let's merge down here. Let's say that there's lacing going on here too. So let's go ahead, do a bit of lacing detail and see how that goes. Well, not so good. Oh, not so good. So remove that. Let's go ahead, take this color. We'll just scribble on a bit of lighting. Okay. Let's do a clear cut of where the mesh starts and where the corset ends. Right here. Okay. Let's do a little bone ridge design here for silhouette. As the silhouette, let's take a bit of the mesh color and extend it up here. We could make this part look like the vertebrae. Have a bit of a design extend down here. probably could use some more piping around the waist, maybe. Let's do like 2 more piping around this area here. Piping is always good when it comes to corset. It just adds that bit of extra detail, especially for corsetting. Add a bit more skin tone in here. Alright, so what I'm thinking is once I have the corset design down, I can actually reuse some of this design elements throughout her outfit. The initial main design of her outfit will be time consuming, but after that's done, usually it's a lot easier to make other parts of her outfit a bit more cohesive because we can just copy and paste a few designs, spread them out throughout her outfit. Usually that's how I go about with, doing a little bit of an extra interpretation of a character. Okay. I mean, we could even like take this up a notch by adding little ridges at the end of each piping. And even still reuse uh reuse some of this again. I mean, I'll just take this one part, one column. Oh, actually, should I put it down here maybe? Use it like a sturdy end to the piping. Let's do it on this side too. Alrighty. Yes, it's getting there. I can feel it. It's almost done. Okay, where is that glittery effect? Hold on. Where's that glittery here? That's the glittery effect. I still want to add a bit of it, so I'm being selective this time. Let's go ahead and make sure that, it's not super visible. We just want a hint of it. We just want a tiny hint of it. I'm repeating the same texture and basically repositioning it throughout the corset where I had originally placed it. And even still, it's a bit too much, so after I finish this process, I will end up slowly trying to blend it in or just turn down the opacity. You know what? Yeah. Turning down the opacity will probably most likely be what I will do with this. Now merge everything down. Oh no, I didn't want to merge. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, so now we just turn it down. Merge down here. Oh wait, hold on. I guess I will have to merge down to that. Okay, so now that that's done, we can perhaps select some one-off part of this. And hold on, copy paste and make those parts, make those random parts a bit brighter. Alright, so now, now that the base corset is done, I will try to incorporate, oh, hold on. We can try to incorporate some of the color scheme that she has going on here, like her um, her buttons, her gold buttons on her top. Merge this down. I'm gonna merge everything down now. I am committed to this design. Probably could use a bit more refining, but now let's go ahead, create color layer. And so gonna make some of those bone details, change the color to gold. Hopefully it works out the way I want it to. I just want to have a bit of that gold color scheme in there on her design. And there's a gold scheme on three of the rib. Gold doesn't look too good with this concept, but we'll see if we can make it work. And we'll have this be gold too, and as well as the rib cage, the rib design in the center of the corset. This is the base for it. Just change the color slightly. We can tone it down a bit and then create a new layer. I'm going to turn this the dynamic on. Let's go pressure, and we'll turn off transfer, which, oh, hold on, turn down the opacity a bit. So there's no pen pressure here. Turn down the pen pressure to create a very, very sharp brush tip here, as you can see. And I can just use this brush tip to add some very, very sharp details. First phase. Okay, just indicate it a little bit throughout the design here. Alrighty. So now that that's done, we can do a little before and after. Yet still it's not still not there yet. Next phase, we can apply a filter to see how it will go. Try everything, basically. We'll try a bunch of stuff. Basically try everything that we know of to see if we can achieve that look that we're going for. I'm aiming for a bit of a gold to silver gradient for some of these areas. So I'm just going to very, very messily select in between this corset, and we shall apply color, oh, not color lookup, but gradient map. And I already have a custom gold filter for it. Ooh, okay, yeah, that does, that should do the trick. This just, it's like a quick gold filter here. It's not as good as if you were to paint it from scratch, but it does a decent job. Just going to go ahead and erase a bit of the filter as I want it to be a nice gradient. So that's done, I'm gonna just select this whole bit, merge everything down so we can have a little before and after here. Just gonna select some of these areas now. Copy. I'm going to increase the contrast, reduce the the saturation now to something like that. Although I think that there's bits of this. Actually, let me just good old fashioned color balance. Let's see if I can good old fashioned color balance this into gold. I think I can. I probably should have just done that from the start. And we'll just remove the extra bit. Ooh, okay. It gives her a royal feel. Those bits and bobs, a royal feel. Let's go ahead and do the same for here as well. I will basically just select it. Let's go ahead and just lasso it up. Oh man, I probably should have done that from the start. Sometimes you gotta try out a bunch of techniques. So just gonna select each of these parts, paste, and then let's go ahead and adjust. Ooh, okay, that might be a bit too much. We can tone it down a little bit. Tone it down. Yes, something like that. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think this is, oh, okay, whoops. I think this gives the best result. Yeah. But basically, the gold is just to represent her color scheme. Since, you know, this is a very liberal interpretation for outfit, it's very, uh, definitely not her outfit, but kinda. Gotta grab some of her outfit elements and apply it, whether that's color or just like a button or two. And that is why we got a bit of gold in her outfit. Although, I do like, I do think the silver rib cage look works better, but we still have to, bring in a bit of her original design in here somehow. Let's do that thing again. We are going to goldify, goldify some of this area. Darken, uh, adjust it, and I'm going to dodge. I need to just add a bit of specular, or highlight in this case, so that it doesn't look too dull. And we'll just do a nice little gradient into gold here. Merge down. Oh, alright. So this is, I guess we don't have to, I don't know. I might still end up adding this part. But we shall see. Okay. Let's see what other parts of the design. Okay, I might make this part also gold, just to continue the theme and all that. So I will do a bit more designing off camera, and we will be back. But it will be a struggle for sure, because still a long ways to go for this pinup. Alright, I will see you guys soon. Welcome back, guys. Alright, so I refined the face quite a bit more. Actually spent like a few hours on it. It was a lot of struggling. So yeah, at first I tried to go with more of an anime style, and slowly it became a bit more semi-realistic. So yeah, that's where I landed. Yeah, it was quite a bit of work. Also for the hair, um, you know, I used a really interesting reference. So I used 002 cosplay reference for the hair, because they have very similar hair color, and just to kind of get the color scheme for her hair, a cosplay hair with realistic lighting really helped. So I end up using a bit of the texture from that, as you can see, and then I basically took the color scheme and applied it to the rest of her hair, and I think that it looks pretty, it fits. I think it fits. So now that we've done that, also refined the legs and the body, and also I did a quick blocking for the leggings as well. So yeah, I was working on the stomach portion just now. I'm going to merge everything down first. Okay, so now I wanted to go ahead and work on the cape. So her cape is very interesting. It's got some like smoky effect, or very tattered looking. So I wanted to do a interesting interpretation of that. And I'm going to be using a lot of smoke texture for her cape. Wanted to see if that could maybe make this piece a little more interesting. So yeah, I think we will do that. And to prep for that, I have already gotten, oh yeah, this is a texture for her veil later on. But I've already kind of went ahead and found a few smoke or ink in water-like texture, which I think would fit very well. And I'm just going to put this on multiply. And by doing this, I can very easily isolate just the dark portion. And so I can kind of play around with it. And I also, oh, I don't know about this. I'm trying to kind of warp it in a way that will fit, kind of trying to make sure it fits the composition and stuff. Oh, actually, okay, I think this, if I warp it this way and position it over here, I think it works a little better. So now it's all about just trying to place these ink textures and trying to kind of frame the character while I do it. Maybe we can use just a bit of it. Actually, no. Maybe I can use the other side of it. Yeah, I don't think it fits that well. Maybe I can go ahead just bring this lower as if it's disintegrated into the floor itself. So let's pick another inky texture and put it on multiply so that we get a nice silhouette of the dissolve look. Okay, I think this this one might work a little better for that side. Um, let's. I'm gonna have to do something with this layer because hmm. Oh, actually, let me see if I can kind of erase some of this area so it's more translucent. It's more translucent now. Also, let me see how it will look without that part, without the sleeve part. Mm, I'm going to create a new layer for the cape, just for the cape. I don't know if I spelled it right though. Remove the watermark. Okay, let's warp this. Let's see if I warp it in another direction, if it will make the composition look better. So I'm just looking at the small screens right here, and right now uh, it's still, I still didn't get like the perfect positioning for it. So I'm just thinking like what other position I can have it in. Also, I'm going to incorporate this texture as well. This one is a little thinner, so I think it's gonna work well for on the floor. Okay, something like that. Um, alright, back to the other texture. Let's go ahead and see if I can do something here with it. Let's do this. I want to do like a little connecting. I'm going to erase this part. Actually, no, bring it back. Let's go back to this. And we'll further play around with this right here. I'm going to reverse it and see what I can do here. Sometimes if one side doesn't work out, we can try the other side. Okay, this side has, I kind of like the flow here. Don't know if it will end up working. Let me duplicate the, the smoke down there and let's see if I can do something with it up here. Okay, well, might be a little too busy. What if I put it here? Gonna remove that little patch there. Let's duplicate, flip, and we'll see if I can warp this in a way to contour the other side there. Yeah, it might be a little too busy. So okay. Might be still a little too busy, but I do like the flow. This type of flow. Let me adjust the contrast here. Let's go here, adjust the contrast there to just lower some of the surface there. I can also do the same to this one. Okay, like that. Now onto that one, let's do the same. Adjust the contrast to make it cover less area. Same for this. Adjust it. Okay, now it's a little more sharp and precise. Okay. So now go back to the original layer and I'm gonna try to work something out here. I'm just going to try my best to connect some of these flowy parts together by painting some vague shape attaching them together. But up here, I'm gonna have to, oh, why? Oh no. Oops. Okay, I was painting on a multiply layer all along, that's why it was a little strange. Okay, so for up here, it's gonna be, not as forgiving. We're gonna actually have to render this out a bit. I guess her hair is going to hide a bit of it, a bit of this area. Alright, so the next part that I think I need to indicate is her cape. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, she's got the, what's it called? The collar of the cape is got iconic teeth, protruding teeth. So we have to make sure that we have that indicated in the pinups because that's kind of her, like one of the iconic features for her design. So gotta have that for sure. Just going to quickly render it out. Okay, let me go ahead, select that, reduce the saturation, and increase the contrast, and then carefully look at what is going on in her color so that I can do a good translation of what is going on. Alright, just grabbing a reference. Okay. Oh. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have a lot of layers now. Where is the actual painting of, okay, it's here. This is the actual non-effect layer. Okay, let me create a new layer. Alrighty, so actually before I do that, let's I'm going to try to think about where I'm gonna have highlight and shadow and stuff. So probably some shadow from the hair is gonna be present. So I'm just going to roughly indicate some of that. Although it's, I'm gonna be a little vague about it because we just want to imply a little bit of it. Because sometimes you can just imply a bit of it without actually making it too accurate. Okay. And then I'm going to warp this lower. Oh. Okay. I warped it lower. Let's have this one be a little taller on the opposite side, and then I'm going to just make the highlight portion a little bit more visible by upping the brightness for it. Let's add a small amount of pink color. I'm gonna go down a little bit in brightness for that. Add a bit of beige. And after that, I want to experiment by adding a bit more to the collar area. Just extending that part a bit more. And now let's go ahead and add the teeth. Oh, this is a little, okay, it's, the teeth are, or the spike you could say. Let's do this. Just slightly curvy. I think I made it a bit too curvy. Okay, this side is looking a bit more accurate to how the teeth or spikes are supposed to look. This side might be a bit too curvy. Alright, you know what? I think I'll just copy this side over here. Okay, at least one of the teeth to be a little bit longer. Oh, okay. I'm just going to quickly establish the lighting for it and also the shadow for it. I'm gonna go with a solid round brush setting and not the airbrush setting. I'm gonna use a bit of beige tone in the teeth on the inner part. So just quickly establish a bit of the teeth. Add a bit of pinky tone in there, um, reflecting from the hair itself. After that's done, going back in to each of the color, add shadow to it. Add shadow, and then I'm going to paint a bit of connecting fabric that's kind of extended up onto the teeth just by a little bit. Let's add a tiny amount of highlight there just to make it stand out a bit more. Alright, so the teeth is there, although it's not very visible. So there's a few things we can try. We can try to increase how dark the shadow is. Maybe here. Here works better because we can see it clearly, a bit clearer. And as for this area, I think it's not too bad. We can just leave it at that. And there we go. That is the iconic part of her cape collar here. Probably could do a better job actually. I'm actually thinking of grabbing like a leather jacket collar and incorporate that into this piece so that yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I want to well, it's already looking, the render style is already looking realistic, so we might as well go all the way. I'm going to flip this. Alright guys, welcome back. So I think I found a decent texture for what I want to achieve. Mainly I was looking for like a blue tinted color palette and also with a color that is prominent enough. So hopefully this right here will do the job. So let's copy that and bring it over. Okay. Merge down to the cape and we will use it right in this area. Just want to warp it. Oh damn. Okay, well, it didn't exactly give the effect that I was looking for, but I mean, it does add a tiny bit of texture, although I was hoping for it to fit a little better. Well, it didn't turn out the way I hoped it would. Yeah, sometimes it happens. You know, textures doesn't always um, workout, let's just say. Although it's not that bad, I mean, it's still something. I'm just going to go ahead and, yeah, go with it for now. Let me go back here. Maybe we could use this part right here. And for that part, let's put it, nope. How about here? How about if we put it here? Well, still not really. Well, I try. I try it in different areas. You know, doesn't always work out, but at least I can use maybe 5% of it. Well, that suck. I thought that it would work out a little better, but hey, I'm gonna try to find another texture here. Real quick, real quick. I'm just like scrolling and checking different leather jacket. Okay, let's go with this. Alright. In particular, I'm looking at this right here. Since it's got like multiple tones, so I want to see if this would maybe help, or at least lead me to a different idea. Maybe I'll just paint over a bit of it like this. Sometimes we don't need the texture for most of what it looks like. We just need it for a bit of color. We just want to take some of the color and use it. And in this case, that is kind of where it leads to. So yeah, I'm just going to paint it like that. Okay, I think it's, yeah, I'm like tilting my head a little bit. It's, it's before and after. Yeah, I mean, it's slightly better. It's not by much. It's like not enough to change the whole vibe of the color, but it definitely does contribute a bit. Let's move on to the teeth. Add a bit of the background color on the very top. I'm gonna take a bit of darker color and we'll just do a bit of texture towards the bottom. Go back to a bit of the highlight. Gonna add highlight at the very top here. And last but not least, finish off with a beige color on the other side of the teeth. Take a bit of this color. Let's make it a little lighter. I'm just gonna say real quick. Might be a bit too much. Let's erase a bit of it. Oh well, didn't turn out the way I had hoped. Oh well, let's go back to this texture. Let's go ahead and take this side, copy paste. Now this side, for this texture, let's move it over here, warp it into place. Add it in. Yeah, that didn't turn out the way I wanted. I think that I want to go back, actually. Uh, actually, let's go back to this. Yeah, let's go back to way before and kind of adjust the opacity. Yeah, I think this works better. It reads better. If I look at the smaller preview of it, it definitely reads better. Sometimes we have to try a few times. Take a few stab at it, you know? The first time doesn't always go according to plan. Let me use a dark blue for the teeth on that side. And let's take a bit of the pink. Pop it on the teeth. And then have a bit of the pinky tone added onto the collar area. Okay, let's call it a day here. As in, call it a day on the collar. But I think the cape is getting there. It's already looking like it fits a bit better. Let's remove a bit of this. For the rest of the cape, it's more abstract than anything, really. Let's delete that part. Especially down below here is quite abstract. I want to keep this part clean at least. Let's have a look, see here. Yeah, the smoke is overextended here by a tiny bit. Let's remove that. I'm gonna try to see if I can just apply a tiny bit of this texture on the floor. Okay, let's go with... which part should I go with? This is a nice streamline piece. Let's see if this fits. Um, Sometimes the texture also just acts as a color guide as well. Like you're not actually using the the object, the photo as it is. You're basically taking parts of it and using it to enhance your art. So that's what I want to see, if it can enhance my art or help, guide me a little bit. Sometimes it acts as a really good guide as well for color schemes, because you can paint over it and stuff. And it helps also to teach you sometimes, like different color, shadow, lighting, all that you probably never thought of, but because of the photo texture, you kind of pick up something new. Okay, so although this didn't really do what I wanted to do, it still gives just a tiny bit of that color guide. Alright, I think that should do it. Um, I kind of have the urge to put some shiny texture in here. But next we will tackle the veil. Time to get to the veils, so let's go ahead and double check where it is. Okay, so I'm I'm thinking up a strategy to approach painting this. So oops. Okay, there we go. Clean it up a bit. So I think what I'll do is I'm gonna start off with the background layer, which is gonna be the layer itself will be underneath the hair layer. But then I would have to make another layer and paint the veil over the hair a little bit. So as for the bottom layer for the veil, I want to go for a translucent veil look. So immediately I'm going to decrease the opacity for it. Let me remove the foreground real quick. Gotta remove a bit of that, make it translucent. Then onto a new layer. We're going to uh, paint some of the folds for the veil, and by observing like how veil usually behaves in the environment, it's kind of complicated to explain, but the folds usually has, instead of shadow, we highlight the folds with highlights. Let's just go ahead and do a couple. Oh yeah, also I have to keep in mind to make the folds a little random. Oh, if we go back to one of the, there. So as you can see, it's a bit more like this. Another thing that I'll probably do is just grab the texture. This is like one of the better textures out there because it is against a black background. And similar to what you could do with the smoke, you could do the same here. You can go screen or lighten. I think I will go with lighten. But yeah, you can also do this. Once you find a good texture like this, you can basically just use it. Sometimes you would need to paint over it a little bit so it doesn't look, so it can fit more into what you have, what idea you have basically. So for me, I'm going to be using this texture quite a bit. Let's go ahead and warp this onto the other side now. And I quite like the flow of this texture as well, since it's already kind of what's it called? It's already has a nice twist flow to it. This will be pretty good as a texture. I'm going to lower the opacity. Actually, let's try to make it screen instead. But then we can increase the contrast to have it toned down a little bit, the brightness toned down a bit. I think I will also have a group for the veil because the veil, to incorporate the texture, is going to require a few layers just to be safe. Warping the original guide to the texture itself now. Okay, and she's got like gold trimming on the outer edge of the veil. Also, I think the veil will probably need to be a little longer. Oh no. Okay, that's the hair layer. Let's move it down here. So for the veil, I'm going to warp it. I mean, drag it down. Drag it down a bit more. But in general, I just want to make sure the composition works. Makes me feel like I need to toss her over a bit more. Oh, hold on. Toss her. Move her a bit more. As for the veil, we might have to play around with it a bit. So I'll take that part of it. What if I like make this portion fall a bit more? Will the composition look better? That's the question. Definitely need to have this side be slightly different from the other side. Maybe like that. Let's go back to this layer now and we shall warp it. Let's go with that. Use the erase tool. I'm going to erase inside the veil a bit more. Okay, I'm gonna have to flip this a bit just to see if the composition is working or not. Alright, now that's flipped. Okay, I can kind of see where this is going. It's not too bad, but it is still needs work. Also, I'm going to move her a bit more and see how that looks. Okay, composition wise, I think it looks better because since her veil is extended quite a bit, I'm trying to kind of even out the veil part. Oh, hold on. Where is the original? There it is. The original veil layer. Bring it over a bit. Go back to the texture now. Make it a bit more visible. Maybe drag it down. Oh, actually I can make it twist like this. Okay. I'm gonna delete this layer. And as for that, okay, let's delete that part and have a bit of flow here like this. Go back to the texture now. And I'm going to just remove this part. Okay, and go back to this layer. Oh, let me remove a bit of that. Go back to that layer and extend this side a bit more so that the coverage is a bit more even on each side, but not too much. Not too much so that we gotta avoid it looking too symmetrical, but we still need to balance both sides out. That's why I'm kind of like looking back and forth a few times. Let's go back to here, delete this part. Let's remove that. Alright, so that's that. Go back to the veil again because we need to work on the border now. Since I'm gonna use a bit of this part of the texture now for the border, so copy, paste. Okay. Maybe this will be a little harder than I thought. Okay, let's, well, go back here, paste, make it a little big. We just need that portion. Lower the opacity. And we just want the border, basically. We just want the border of this texture. Hmm. Actually, I have a feeling I need to have just a bit of overlap, so I need to have a bit of the veil layer on top of the hair layer. Delete real quick. Where is the veil? Okay, here we go. So I'm going to select that side. Let's go with lighten, and this is gonna be over the hair layer. Let's add a bit of that over the hair, like this or something. I'm going to switch up the color a bit. Let's do something like this. I gotta find, okay, there it is. Find this side and extend it. Extend it. Trying to match the texture to each other, basically. Okay, so I think now it's matching a bit better. I'm gonna call this veil. Let's go here now. Make it a little bigger. And take this veil layer, duplicate it, and put it on the opposite side now. And I'm just using this texture once again. Let's have this one be a little bit here. Or maybe make it go up a bit more, raise it up. Oh no, whoops. Okay, it reset, the position reset it. Basically just trying to figure out a good placement for it. I guess I'll just keep it here, which means that I have to go back to this right here, and we'll just warp it to fit the border right here. And then we have the under part for the veil. Let me remove that part. No, gotta keep it. Gotta keep this portion right here. So we're gonna have kind of like this type of motion, just painting that underneath the veil, basically. Delete. Okay. There's a lot of texture, playing around with the texture and stuff like that. I'm going to rotate this It might take some time to rotate since it's a lot of layers now. Okay, it is done. Okay, it's not too bad. Uh, let's go ahead and put back. Oh wait, no. I thought the foreground was minimized. I'm kind of contemplating. Should I make the character a little bigger? Let's go ahead and try it out. Okay, okay. I think maybe it looks better if she was just a little bit bigger in the canvas. Let's move her a bit. Trying to fit her in the frame and not have it be too much. Yeah, I think maybe just a little bigger. Bring her down a bit. Confirm. There we go. I think the veil itself is looking decent. Not too bad. Let's go back to the under part of the veil. I got my guide up. Now, work on that guide. I call this the base layer the guide because it guides me on the part that I'm going to isolate and stuff like that. Let me go ahead and paint some folds here. Folds are done. Let's go ahead, find our veil once again. I'm just gonna take, oh no, I'm gonna take the center portion here. Paste. And we will apply it subtly. I think I might even need to lower the opacity. Let's do screen. Yeah, it might be a bit too much. Actually, I want to test something out. Delete. Might be a bit too bright. Let's keep it subtle. Let's do. Definitely need this, but maybe I can have it be a bit more blue. Yeah, I think if I have a bit more blue, then it will create a bit more contrast for the screen layer that I have. Screen is kind of like dodge, but it's slightly different. It does add luminosity, so I think that's what I'll do. Let's go ahead and let's also adjust the color for this. So we're gonna make it be a bit more bluish. Let's duplicate this. I'll just be using this on the other side as well. But since the smoke is kind of covering it, get away with just think. Let's warp this way. That's not bad. Okay, so this is what we have. Let me merge everything down. Put the layer mode back on. So now it's a little bit more blue. Let's go back to the texture here. Extend it up. I'm going to copy it. And we're going to use it on the opposite side as well. Lower the opacity. Now, veil copy. Let's go ahead and also adjust the color for this too. So let's make it a little bit more blue as well to fit the theme. Alright, so this is the hair on that side. So we're going to add a bit of the veil over her head, over her hair. So in this case, I want to see if this will do a good job or not. Hopefully it does. So, oh, might be a bit too busy. Well, we'll see. Warp it, put it in screen. It's a bit too much. Let's put in lighten. Oh, lighten is basically, can't really see it. Delete. Save first and then adjust the color. Yeah, it's barely visible, which I suppose can work to our favor because we don't want to make it too much, so we'll just have a bit of it. Or we could do normal and just adjust the contrast. Okay, maybe might it looks a little too bright. Okay, maybe I'll just stick with lighten then. Duplicate this, flip it on the opposite side. Actually, you know what? We don't really need it on the opposite side. We just need it on this side. I'm going to manually paint a portion on top here. Select the outer edge. Just going to imply a bit of edge for the lace detail. Let's add it there. That should do it. Well, I mean, it's a okay application, I think. It could be better. Could probably be better. But it, however, does get the point across, which is good. Now I just need to work on the hair a bit. So this is my hair layer. Where's my secondary hair layer? It's here. It's on the opposite layer below. Alright, so I've been just using the lasso tool just to help me get a silhouette going for the hair itself. Maybe we could get a few hair strands on this side here. fill that in. Mm, let's have like 2 strands down here. Might be a bit too much. We'll just keep it not too busy. We'll just have some very sparse strands up here. Let's see how that looks. We'll just imply a bit of it. Since the veil is kind of covering quite a bit of the hair, we can just use some quick shape for it. Okay, I think that should do it. So this is the secondary layer for the hair. First layer for the hair, the back hair. I'm gonna go ahead and just render it out a bit, although it's not gonna be too tedious. I wonder if I can add a bit of the environment color down towards the bottom. It's not looking too great on this side. Zoom in here a bit. Add some highlight. Okay, just adding very simple lighting for this part. Let's go to the opposite side here. And blend that in. I'm going to add a slight bit of cool tone under. And just add a bit of highlight throughout. I'm going to use the lasso tool. And let's select this slightly darker color. Add a bit of shadow throughout. And I don't think it's quite visible. It's a little bit too uniform here. I might like re-render it, make it a little bit less uniform onto this side. I'm going to create a new layer. Create a new layer so that I can basically add some strand detail, and also to break up the uniformness of the strands here. Well, It helped a tiny bit. I think these strands need to be thicker though. I'm just going to warp them a bit. Uh, add a few more strands to this layer. I'm gonna have to take care of that watermark. It's kind of distracting. So yeah, a couple layers like this, layering on a few hair strands here and there, and the hair should be good to go. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, it's getting there. That way it will look a bit more organic and have a better flow. Let's go ahead and add highlight to these hair strands. Highlight on this edge of the strand. Okay, that should do it. So I'm going to be doing same process over here as well. Oh, let me try to duplicate that and bring it over. Needs work, but yeah, you can do that. We can probably adjust it a bit and incorporate it onto the opposite side. We can even put it up here a bit, maybe. But yeah, needs to be edited a bit. Let's go with this. Alright, so that concludes this voiceover pretty much. It's gonna be finished, in maybe a few hours. Still need to fix the hair down here, but using the same method, add a bit of detail to her leggings and whatnot. I'm using textures most likely. Probably gonna borrow a lot of the textures up here, incorporate it onto the leggings as well. And gonna experiment quite a bit with this piece. But in general, it's pretty much there. The idea is there. So yeah. I will see you guys in the next voiceover. Hope you guys have a great day or night. And I'm kind of excited to see where this goes because I think it's going in a pretty good, well, in an interesting direction. So I will see you guys when this is done. Alright guys, have a great day. Bye bye.